Magyar szólások és közmondások angolul beszélőknek.
Hungarian sayings and proverbs for English speakers. Circling.
Kerülgeti, mint macska a forró kását.
Let's have a look at what this means. First of all, let's look at the individual words. Macska we've met before a few times. It means a cat. Kását is porridge. Remember the S is a sh sound in Hungarian. And kerülgeti is to avoid. Kerül also means to avoid, but kerülgeti is to keep on avoiding. Mint is like, and forró is boiling. Word by word. He avoids repeatedly it, like cat, the boiling porridge. He avoids it like a cat, hot porridge. At first I thought this meant the cat would leap away from the hot porridge, but it doesn't mean that at all. It means more like the cat is circling round the porridge, wants to have a go, pulls away again. So not quite avoiding in this situation. So while we're at it, let's have a look at the difference between hot and cold in general. So forró comes from the word for boiling, forr, 2 R's. More commonly you'll hear meleg, which means hot. It also means warm. Now, just a note of caution here. When you're saying that you yourself are warm, you don't say warm I am, but rather I have heat. Melegem von, I have heat. That's because the alternative, which is to say I am hot, meleg vagyok, actually has a sexual overtone, so please do not use that. Hűvös, on the other hand, means cool. I recently got a phone call to say that it's quite cool in Hungary at the moment. It was only 32 Celsius. Hideg is cold. And fagyos is freezing, from the verb fagy, to freeze. Fagy also means ice. And fagy, which is short for fagylott, means an ice cream, very popular in Hungary. So what about breakfast? Personally, I was never offered porridge for breakfast. I've been to Hungary 12 times, up to 3 months at a time. Never once has anyone said to me, here, have a bowl of porridge. Breakfast tended to be more of a fry-up with eggs and meat, or just cold meat, depending. Personally, I'm not very fond of fried meat in the morning. A New Zealand breakfast tends to be much lighter. Cereal and toast and maybe juice and a hot coffee or tea, or in my case, yogurt and fruit and cereal. When I was in Hungary, it helped that I was there in summer, I tended to stick to peppers, tomatoes and bread. And once I discovered the Spar in the big city, I used to take trips there to buy my own yogurt and muesli. I had the muesli to myself, but I had to buy extra yogurt for the kids. So here we are. We've got the bread, kenyér, and the eggs, tojás. Paradicsom means tomato. It also means heaven. And freshly vine-ripe tomatoes from Hungary are heaven. And szalonna is often translated to bacon in English, and I suppose it is. It's cured pig meat. It tends to be a lot fattier, however, than English bacon, and you also often eat it cold, just sliced and put onto your bread. So a big part of the breakfast, from what I could see, was meat. Korbács is a spicy sausage. There are many types, and it can be eaten hot or cold. Hurka, one of my sister's favourites, but not for me, thank you very much. Again, it's a sausage, but this time made with pork liver, lungs, head meat, rice and onion. And adding blood is also quite common. This one you definitely eat hot. Fried up so it smells the whole apartment out. Disnoshite. Disnoshite pig cheese has nothing to do with cheese. It's made from pork parts such as the head, tongue, heart, ears, hooves, cooked with garlic and stuffed into the stomach. And eaten cold. Not one of my favourites either. Let's look at a couple of other words associated with breakfast. When my aunt wasn't there, we didn't eat on those nice little plates. We used wooden boards. Desko. And you will notice there are no forks. Each person had their own knife, kesh. So you'd cut up the meat, cut up the bread, and you'd eat it with your hands. Occasionally, palinka would also be served for breakfast. It does help cut the fat, but at well over proof, I don't recommend that either. In an earlier video, we actually looked at the idea of an affix, which is like a suffix or prefix, but it goes in the middle of the word. And this time we're looking at got, get, which goes inside a verb. Its basic meaning is a repeated action. So we looked at Kerülgeti. So Kerül, you avoid it once, but Kerülgeti, you avoid it repeatedly. Látogat. Lát is to see, but látogat, seeing repeatedly, is to visit. Mosogat. So mos is the root verb for washing, and there are lots of variations. Most of them actually have a prefix on them, but here we have a suffix. You wash repeatedly. And what do you wash repeatedly? The dishes. So mosogat has only one meaning, and that means to do the dishes. Beszélget. Talk versus chat. Now, that repeated action can also bring in the idea of a weakened action. So whereas is to write, írogat is to write in fits and starts. Olvas, to read, olvasgat, read from time to time. It's sort of a, sometimes I bother, I'm not sitting down and actually reading seriously and solidly. I just pick it up, look at the new magazine or something and just have a wee look, put it down, maybe pick it up again. Keer and keraget, ask versus beg. And finally, dolgozik, dolgozgot. Work as opposed to pretend to work. There's a bit of a joke where they say, they pretend to pay me, I pretend to work. But we won't do that one as a saying. Now, just have a quick look at that. Dolgozik is an IK verb. They're a special class of verbs, and one thing you do with it, you nearly always take off the IK. So here we put the got onto the dolgoz. And the gots go with the back vowel words. Lát, mos, olvas. They're all back vowel words. In some cases you need a linking vowel, látogat, mosogat, but not always. It just depends. And the front vowel verbs use the affix get. It means exactly the same thing. And again, we put it on to the verb, and we've only got one here that needs a linking vowel, and that's kér. So it's kerülgeti. From time to time, we circle round the definite conjugation. It's a hard thing for English speakers to get their head around because we have nothing similar in English. You use the definite conjugation when there is a definite, direct object. So the definite conjugation is a different way of putting the endings on the verb for a given tense or mood. A direct object is what we call in English an accusative. But what is a definite direct object? Well, for it to be definite, there are a number of things it can be. It can be preceded by the article the, o, os, or a demonstrative pronoun, which is that or this. Proper nouns are direct objects. Some pronouns are direct objects. And some question words. So let's have a look at some examples. If you see a cat, macska lát. But if you see the cat, instead of saying lát, you say látja. And the giveaway is that o before macska. Usually you'd put a meg in there too, but let's not confuse things any more than necessary. So látja, he sees it. It is implied. It is a third person pronoun, so therefore it will take a definite conjugation. You normally don't explicitly give the it. If you wanted to say it, you would probably say something like ost. So if you have a look at the first person, you'd say látom, I see it. And if it was just I see, it would be látok. Almát vesz. He, she, it takes an apple. But if you say he takes somebody else's apple, you're going to have to use the definite conjugation. So you put an I on the end of vesz, vessi. Whenever you use a possessive, by default, it always has a definite article. So whenever you see a possessive, if the possessive is a direct object, then you're going to use the definite conjugation. Whoops, what's happening here? János hoz beszél. He speaks to John. But it's beszél, not beszéli. Why? It's that hoz. János hoz is not a direct object. Remember that the definition? It had to be a direct object. An accusative, that's one of the words with a T on the end. This is not. You need to learn what case a verb takes when you learn the verb. And if it's, in this case it was easy because we say we speak to and we use hoz. But that's not always the case. Sometimes when the English would take an accusative, the Hungarian does not. Sometimes when the English does not take an accusative, the Hungarian does. So when you learn a verb, you need to learn what case that verb will take. And the case can depend on the meaning that you want to use. Personally, I only learn the case when it is not the accusative, because the accusative is the most common case for a verb to take.
Kerülgeti, mint macska a forró kását.
He avoids it like a cat hot porridge. I hope you don't avoid doing your Hungarian lessons, because they're so much fun, you know. You can actually learn a lot about English from learning Hungarian. If you find this video useful, don't forget the like, possibly a subscribe, or even a comment. Until next week, viszlát!